Welcome back here to the Game Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Horowitz, joined alongside Kamani and a new guest on the channel, Derek. How you guys doing today?
It's great, man. Excited for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm too. I'm ready to see my Eagles fly.
Okay. So the Eagles were not your team 1 week ago, but now.
Like, what is this? Unbelievable. Anyways.
And if the Chiefs win, Kamani will be a Chiefs fan, so there's that.
No comment.
Anyway.
I wouldn't be a Chiefs fan.
Anyway, today we're going to be breaking down the championship games that transpired last weekend. We previewed them, but we didn't react to them yet, so we're going to do that today. Then also going to give our predictions on the NFL awards, which will be happening February 6th, so next Friday. And lastly, give our picks for the Super Bowl, which will round out the NFL season. So first of all, going back to the NFC Championship weekend, you had the Bills and the Chiefs. Actually, let's go Commanders-Eagles first.
Yeah, I want to start with that one first because the Bills and Chiefs one.
There's a lot to break down.
They deserve last for that one.
So Commanders-Eagles. Eagles blew them away 55-23 in this game. Your guy Jaden Daniels didn't get it done, but he didn't play bad in this one.
I don't even think this wasn't on Jaden Daniels at all.
No, not at all.
He went out there, gave it his all. You're never going to win a game turning the ball over 4 times when that was first play of the game, like their first possession, 2-yard pass, fumble.
Especially against a tough Eagles team. Like the pick that Jaden threw was garbage time, just trying to get back into
No, that pick, obviously, like if you just look at the box score, you see the pick, you're like, oh, he's one of their turnovers. But he was just trying to make something out of nothing at the end of the game, and it's like that's nothing you can hold against him. You can't be fumbling on kickoffs, can't be fumbling catching balls, and then running upfield. You're just, especially against a team like the Eagles, they're going to make you pay. There was a time where the Eagles scored 14 points and Jaden Daniels didn't have the ball in his hand once.
Yeah.
Like but I feel like that just shows not really the inexperience because it wasn't Jaden Daniels' fault, but no one had any expectations from the Commanders this year, at least from my perspective and people I talked to. They didn't think they were going to sniff the playoffs. Jaden Daniels comes in, puts they're 12-5. I think the future's bright for them, and we just got to see if Jaden Daniels, just like C.J. Stroud, has this sophomore slump. But I think the future is bright in Washington.
No, yeah, we talked about it last week. Washington, this roster was not built to go to an NFC Championship game this season, and we saw a lot of that in the game against the Eagles, who are a very complete roster from top to bottom. You know, the offensive line and Saquon Barkley blew Washington away in this game.
You're like 2 TDs in the first quarter alone.
Even Will Shipley went for 77 yards and a touchdown on the ground in this one. So they just ran all over Washington. They couldn't do much, which I thought was what was going to happen when Washington played Detroit. But Washington was able to do pretty good against Detroit.
Right.
Although they did give up 31 in that game. But, yeah, Eagles just ultimately had too much for Commanders to deal with.
The defense was really good for them, too. They really put out the pressure on them, causing those turnovers that you talked about, too.
Yeah, so Jaden played great in this one. This game was not on him at all. Like you said, all those fumbles. Jaden was doing all he can. And then Washington, they stayed aggressive going for it on the 4th downs like they've been doing all season. They converted a fake punt in this one. So they pulled out all the stops, but it just wasn't enough to beat Philly. Philly is going to the Super Bowl for the 2nd time in 3 years.
The only problem I had with this game was 4th and 3. They're on the first drive, 4th and 3 on the 20-30 yard line, and you kick the field goal. It's like, let's be real, you're not beating the Eagles kicking field goals. I wouldn't say I expected that fake punt from them, but it was easy to look and see. It's like, if you give the Eagles the momentum in this first quarter and they're up 2 scores on you, it's going to be a tough task to come back from, and they converted it. They couldn't get their 2-point conversions, and at the end of the day, turnovers. That's what loses you football games is turnovers.
Right, and on that drive, they converted multiple 4th downs only to kick it on 4th and 3.
Right, it's like at 4th and 3, it's
all
like you're down
nothing,
there, you might as well pin them back there, and then
Yeah.
The Eagles' first possession, they 60 yards. You can't let that happen. I know Saquon, he's a great running back. They have top 2, top 3 offensive line in the league, but you know what they want to do. They missed a lot of tackles on that play too, so it's Jaden Daniels. He tried his best with all that he had, but oh well.
Yeah, Jaden will be back. Washington will. I don't know if they'll make another run like this to the championship game next year, but they do have a lot of cap
maybe not next
space.
year, but I think 3-4. I think they have the most. They have $70 million in cap space. They definitely need to get some O-line for Jaden and also improve that secondary.
Alongside McLaurin, they need another weapon there, and the defense pretty much every position on the defense. Marshawn Lattimore, who they traded for at the deadline, didn't do anything.
No.
He got toasted by A.J. Brown in this one. So, yeah, Washington has a lot of resources to retool. Shout out Tommy if you're an OG fan. You know Tommy. Who's your team, Derek?
I don't have a team. I grew up down in South Florida. I realistically don't. I never was a big Dolphin fan. My dad never watched football. He grew up in New York, right? He grew up in New York. He's a Jets fan. So on Sundays, but I never got with him on the Jets. Realistically, I just root for my fantasy team and whoever I bet on. So
yeah,
that's the only teams I root for.
I won a fantasy championship this year.
Good for you, man. That's great. Those are not easy.
Yeah, Derek's a big hockey and baseball. You've had a pretty good year. You know, Panthers won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that's my team.
Yankees.
Yeah, they
had a rough World Series, but they made it.
Regardless, listen, I'm happy where I think the Yankees did whatever they do. We can talk about that in 60 days when the MLB starts back up again. But no, I'm just enjoying watching these games, watching all these superstars go at it. It's great.
Yeah, moving on to what was a great game.
Another game of the year, honestly.
One of the best in the playoffs. You had the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. We all expected this in the AFC Championship.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I have some family in Maryland. I was really rooting hard for Baltimore, but again, like I said before, it's like you lose the turnover battle. Key drops by Andrews. It's like teams that make it here don't make those mistakes. The Bills haven't made mistakes all year. They've won the turnover battle. Don't quote me, but I'm sure almost every game.
Yeah.
And they win the turnover battle in this game. However, they did fumble the ball 4 times. Luckily, they got it back. But
yeah, that was a big thing in this game. Bills kept putting it on the ground and recovering every time.
Right. It was one. I'm pretty sure one was a punt return. One was Josh Allen on 4th down. Yeah. You can't do that. You're too great of a quarterback to be jumping over there. Like once you reach, you better pull that thing back because obviously forward progress, you get that ball over there.
Yeah,
but you can't be going down with that. He literally brought that ball down, and there was like Chiefs. All you saw around there was Chiefs defense. I don't know how
he recovered it,
but
there was another
by the
one.
Grace of God, he did, and good for him. But obviously, he falls short. Can't say they played bad at all. I mean, him, James Cook. The only nitpick I can have from this game from the Bills is that you go 80 yards a possession before the last, running when you pass the ball one time.
Yeah.
Go 80 yards, score a touchdown, and then the last possession, you're not going to run the ball with James Cook, who's been torching them all game. Ty Johnson was torching them all game.
Had 3.5 minutes all time.
Ty, you didn't torch him, but 6 attempts, 19 yards. I mean, when they gave Ty Johnson the ball, he was getting it done. James Cook, he was a beast.
Yep.
He was a beast all year long. I didn't see that coming from him. I'm happy for him, but I don't know. I don't know. They thought maybe the Chiefs were going to adjust to the run, and they had to put the ball in Allen's hands, but...
Well, it's never a bad idea to put the ball in Josh Allen's hands. Like you said, he was good in this game, not as good as Mahomes was. I think that's the slight edge here. Allen wasn't perfect. Mahomes was pretty much perfect from start to finish. Allen, first drive of the game, threw 2 passes that should have been intercepted. And
right.
Like you said,
right.
Put the ball on the floor twice. And the last drive, 4th and 5, gets blitzed by corner. Great call by the coordinator Spagnuolo, and they get
he's insane. I swear, I don't know why. I mean, I can see why he hasn't taken a head coaching job right now.
Yeah,
but
he's getting the rings.
He's getting the rings. It's like, but wow, I would love to see him at the next. Maybe Andy Reid's. I don't know how long he is from retiring, but
the next up,
I'd be a great person next up because obviously the players love him. The defense buys into everything, so. It'll be nice to see. Obviously, people aren't going to like the Chiefs dynasty after coming from the Patriots dynasty, but...
Yeah, people love to hate the best thing.
Exactly.
But Spagnuolo was a head coach before. He didn't have too much success, but I think he's found his, perfect role here in Kansas City. He's...
Right? It's like sometimes, you see these OCs and DCs that go from that job to a head coaching job, and then they can't do all that they, they can't just focus on defense. They're worrying about players' health, safety, coordinating with all the other coordinators. Is like you lose touch.
Yeah, it's a lot more to
you give Spagnuolo. He's like, hey, you go there, draft the perfect defense for this. That's all you had to do, and he's been doing it for years and years. So we will see.
Yeah, it was a great call at the end of the game. Chiefs come out and like a double mug look in the A gap, and then they have a safety come down, or it was a corner, and he blitzed, the Bills couldn't pick it up, and Allen rolled right into the pressure. And Kincaid almost caught that prayer of a pass there at the end, but it wasn't enough.
He didn't catch that though. Like that was low-key. That was in his hands.
I know it was a tough catch.
It's in his hands. However, he's going one way, turns around.
Has to adjust and dive.
You're not practicing that in practice. Like those aren't situations you draw up in practice. And like, yeah, it's probably like obviously you can say it hit his hands. He should catch it. At the end of the day,
a lot of people were getting on Kincaid for that.
You put a lot of especially because we saw Andrews in the divisional. I think Andrews was 1,000 times worse than what
for sure
Kincaid had to deal with. And I think Kincaid, he tried his best. Like, he's going to catch flack for it from, like, diehard fans because, they were in position. Like, he catches that. They run the block down. Obviously, you still need to kick the field goal, but I don't know. I think that was the Bills' best. That was the best chance I think the Bills had to beat them
in the last 4 years.
Obviously, you have that 13 seconds, but it's like,
oh yeah, that one might have been better.
That might have been better. However, it's like I hate when they start playing prevent defense because it just you just start running the ball on the outside and oh well.
No, Bills just never get it done against the Chiefs.
I'm not a coach, so I can't be talking.
32-29. What are your thoughts on this game?
I mean, I predicted this like a close game. Chiefs always play to the level whoever they're playing against. Like you said, this is a very, very close game to the wire. You see the interview where all of the social media videos the Chiefs have, they're all streaming since early streets.
Yes, I saw that. Did you see that, Daniel?
That was
what?
So when the Bills got the ball back, they had 3:33.
Oh yeah.
Right, and then unlike all the social media, like on YouTube, all the videos for the interviews were 3 minutes and 33 seconds.
So they're doing it to like clone them.
That's worse than the 13-second.
That is way worse than the 13 seconds. It
was like 4 or 5 videos back to back.
Yeah, it was like Chris Jones, Mahomes, I forgot some coordinator, Andy Reid, all 3:30. Like that's. Hey man, I mean,
Buffalo fans are on suicide watch, but I hate the Bills, so I was happy to see the Chiefs get it done.
I mean, I just feel sorry for Josh Allen. Just as as an elite quarterback of the league, always just it's like the LeBron effect basically.
Yep.
Like you just can't get past him.
But again, Allen didn't play perfect in this game. Mahomes did, and the Chiefs, who everyone gets on them in the regular season every year, it's like, oh, this is the year they're not going to get it done. This is the worst Chiefs team we've seen in the last however many years, and then
in the playoff.
They were a run-heavy team all season. They come out of the gates throwing every down here against Buffalo through the air.
Right. I mean, I feel like that's where Buffalo was most vulnerable either. It's like you saw like when they played the Detroit in the regular season, that was a shootout. I was never totally bought in on their defense. Like,
no, for sure not.
Obviously, respect to Damar Hamlin. He played. Obviously, he came in like a nobody. He only got his name for what happened on the field, and then now he's back. He was making plays all year. I'll give him credit. He wasn't just like a sorry case or anything for the league, and he was still on the team just because of that. He played his ass off this whole season. It's not like you heard his name making plays, disrupting passes.
Yep.
Good for him. But Josh Allen, I don't know, man. He still hasn't shown me that in this game. This is the one game you should be circling on your calendar every year. You can beat him in the regular season all throughout the years. It doesn't matter.
Just doesn't,
because that game doesn't eliminate you from going to the Super Bowl.
And the Bills did have a sequence in this game up 22-21, driving in Chiefs territory. It's the most talked about play from this game. 4th and 1, they go with the quarterback sneak, and refs coming in rule it just short, which it definitely looked like a first down, I'll have to say. So, whether you want to chalk it up to bad officiating, Bills still had a chance to get the job done. 3 straight possessions at the end of the game. Yeah. Chiefs score, get a stop, and then get 2 first downs to ice the game. Chiefs just always come out better in those end-of-game situations.
But it doesn't matter. Realistically, if you're Josh Allen, you should never leave it up to the refs' discretion because we've seen time and time again throughout the whole year, going back so many years, 1, the refs aren't perfect. 2, even reviewing it, once you call it on the field, if it's like inches, there's
no clear sign they can't
unless
overturn
somehow they see something in review. But if you're Josh Allen there, I don't care what you have to do. That was the play of the season. Yeah. You have to make it so the refs have no doubt in their mind that you get that first down.
And the Bills, I mean, they ran like 5 tush-push, QB sneak. Like, I was tired of seeing that, so I'm happy they got stopped on one. Because it's like...
But they all do. But like they were like Tony Romo was talking on the broadcast. He's insufferable to listen to. I'm sorry, but anyways, they know the Bills push it left. So what were the Chiefs doing? They loaded that left side. It's like, obviously their tush push is a lot different from the Eagles' tush push because they just run it up the middle with two guys that squat 1,000 pounds. So
yeah, that's how they stopped the Bills on the QB sneak on the 2-point conversion earlier. They went left and got denied up the B gap. So, Chiefs just always make those plays when it matters the most, and that's why they're in the Super Bowl. Which brings us to the big matchup, last one of the NFL season, Chiefs and Eagles. Where are you guys going, Derek? You can kick it off.
You can't. I'm sorry. Like, you cannot bet against Mahomes in the playoffs. It's never been done in history. I think if there's one person do it, it is this team. Their offense, their defense, even their special teams. It's like their special teams. You haven't seen them make any hiccups, and that's all you need. All you need for a guy is either call a fair catch or get 5-10 yards. Mm-hmm. You don't see them with the ball on the ground. You don't see them if they're letting the ball drop. They're making sure their returner has everyone knowing that he's letting it drop, and you don't see them it going off their shin or going off their thigh, and then it's a foot race to the football on the floor. So I think they are the most complete team. I do think the Eagles obviously have a great chance. I mean, like, they're there. They're only 1.5-point favorites. We saw James Cook run all over the Chiefs. What are we going to see with Saquon? Obviously, and it's not like you can just stare down at the run. They still A.J. Brown, elite receiver. Devontae Smith, elite receiver. Obviously, there's been controversy. There's been things up in the air, but I think at the end of the day, when you get on that field, all that beef or whatever they have is squash, and it's like, we're going to draw up the best plays, but I believe Saquon is tiers above James Cook as a running back, and now you pair that with the best offensive line.
Yeah, better O-line.
Way better O-line. It's going to be hard. Like, I think the Chiefs win this, but I think Saquon's just going to have a day. But again, it's like, you can run the ball, and Saquon can break one loose, and you can get a drive done in like 2-3 minutes, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to let something like that happen. Like, you saw the 60-yard run, all this stuff, but oh man, I don't know.
It's a tough one.
I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts either. I still think he's playing with some bit of, I think by now his concussion has gone away, but when he got knocked around against the
CTE in there.
Hey man, CTE makes you play great. Just look at AB and George Pickens, man. They're breeding CTE in Pittsburgh or something.
Steelers receivers.
But I'm gonna have if I'm gonna have to put money on a team, it would be the Chiefs. I do think I don't think it's gonna be sit back and relax though. I think the Eagles are gonna put up a dog fight. Hopefully, maybe we'll get it Super Bowl 50, 51. When the Chiefs and the Eagles played.
Oh yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago, right?
That is, but
so I do believe that I honestly hope that this is another high-scoring Super Bowl. I'm like, that's always more fun to watch when you're with your friends and everything. So give me the over and give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, first I want to say, for people that think the NFL is rigged for the Chiefs, I mean, put your money where your mouth is. If I knew the game was rigged, I'd bet my whole life savings on that.
Yeah, exactly. It's, oh my God. Well.
But I don't think it's rigged either. I'm going with the Chiefs in this game as well. I just, I did it last week. I picked the Bills to win. I thought they had a really good chance to win in this game, which was the case. But again, that dark magic, man.
Dark magic.
So I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs one more in the big dance. And to set the stage, these two teams played 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, like you said. But these are two very different teams. The Eagles added
way different
Jalen Carter in the draft, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. They added Zach Bond this year, who's a Defensive Player of the Year finalist.
They get Cooper DeJean. They get
Quinyon
Mitchell.
And then the biggest one of all, Saquon
Barkley, man.
Like you said, the Bills ran with ease against this Chiefs defense last week. Now, it scares me what Saquon's about to do to this Chiefs defense as he ran for 120 and 3 scores last week against Washington.
Yeah, 118. He could have had 4 or 5 touchdowns if they really let him.
So that's the big deal breaker for Kansas City is not can they stop the run because they're not going to. It's can they slow it down and not let them break the game.
It's not like you can't have Saquon going 30, 40 yards. Then your whole defense is tired because then they like to run it quick. Like if Saquon has a 30, 40 yard rush, they're not subbing people out. They'll leave the same personnel on and then make your tired D linemen and D tackles get back up there and linebackers
Yeah, Philadelphia is very high tempo, yeah.
It's hard to stop Saquon Barkley when coming out on the first play to try and tackle him in open field. So it'll be interesting for sure.
And, this is the Super Bowl. They're not going to be able to run down their mouth the whole game. There's going to be plays, third and longs or big passing plays at the end of halves where the Eagles are going to need Jalen Hurts to step up and make a play. And like you said, he's not Mahomes as a passer. He's nowhere near close. So Jalen Hurts is going to have to prove he can step up in those situations, whereas I think the Chiefs have no concerns when they're put in, obvious passing downs.
Realistically, I think this is going to be this is going to have to be a big Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert game in the passing sense, because I feel like Trent McDuffie is going to strap down A.J. Brown. He's been doing it to wide receiver ones all year. I know in the middle of the year he wasn't looking too great, but these past couple weeks I feel like he's been strapping down your wide receiver one. And I mean, to put the game in Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert passing-wise, I'm not worried about that. I mean, I am worried about that if I'm a Chiefs fan, because they aren't just some scrubs. They are proven NFL veterans like Devontae's young, but you saw what he did in Bama. You saw what he's been doing in the league. Mm-hmm. It'll be nice.
Yeah, and the Eagles got better since the last time they matched up in the Super Bowl, but so did the Chiefs. Last time these teams played in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs were trotting out a
Kadarius
Toney and MVS at receiver.
That'll be interesting, though, to see who's the next Kadarius Toney for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think it's Rice, but obviously he hasn't played this year.
Obviously, it would have been Rice, but, I mean, Worthy is their wide receiver one right now, so he's definitely going to get a lot of attention, a lot of too high, because he is fast. They're going to need to put Worthy, those running plays they scheme up for him really nice. Yep. But, we're going to see like, Noah Gray, is he going to have, sometimes he has those random 2 touchdown games.
I think it's going to be Marquise and
Hollywood
in that
Brown,
slot gadget role like Toney played in the Super Bowl. But yeah, Chiefs have...
Even Juju, I mean, he's been Juju's not by any means a star receiver, but...
No, he showed he can make plays
He's
this year,
proven that he can do it. Like, he's done it in Pittsburgh. He's been doing it for the Chiefs when they need him. So I think this is going to be another really interesting game. I think, obviously, people don't want to see this matchup. They probably wanted to see, like, the Bills and the Lions. Yeah. I would have even liked the Chiefs and the Commanders just for, like, those high offense, quick-going games. But realistically, this is, like, best on best. It's like just like the World Series. Like, no one wants to see the Yankees and Dodgers in the World Series, but it's best on best. It's your best. It's the best hitters in the league, best pitchers in the league going up against the best pitchers and the best hitters. So this is going to be, I think, a great Super Bowl. People are talking about boycotting it. No one's boycotting the Super Bowl. What else are you going to do on a Sunday in February? Like, there's nothing else to do.
No, we're going to get the ratings stats, so a week later it's going to be the highest watched Super Bowl in NFL history.
Like, all these people like to talk. They're just salty that their team's not in it. Yeah. This game is going to be amazing. Even if you start and don't watch it, when you start getting notifications or people texting about it and you're out of the loop, you're going to tune in and watch this game.
For sure. And, Eagles... I think they have they were the best team in the NFC after the Lions went down with all those injuries, so they definitely deserve to be here. Whereas, like you said, it's the best of the best. Chiefs have been the best team all regular season long, aside from that one regular season loss to the Bills, and they showed they can beat them in the playoffs. So this is absolutely the best teams from each conference. They deserve to be here, and we're going to see that Sunday.
I'm taking the Eagles. I won't lie to you.
No, that's
okay, Mr. Eagles fan staying loyal.
I like it.
I'm taking the Eagles right here. So, like you said, the Chiefs they couldn't really manage the rushing yards, and I'm taking Saquon. Saquon's gonna go crazy like you guys predicted. I'm calling like 2-3 TDs in the first. I'm not first half, but like overall, he's gonna get a good amount of TDs. Jalen Hurts, he's gonna be shaky, but I feel like he can stay consistent. It's gonna be very very tough to deal with the passing, but I feel like they're gonna be able to take it. They have the defense for it. Both teams, especially last week, the Chiefs defense was really really good.
Yeah.
I think Jaden. Sorry to get you.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I still don't see them really stopping the rushing yards, and not just Saquon, but Jalen Hurts can do some unexpectedly and get a TD like he did last time.
Absolutely.
So he gets his touches on the tush push though, but he didn't look as mobile as he's looked all year. Obviously,
since going down with that knee injury.
Not just the concussion, but like also that knee injury. Like you saw it against the Commanders. Like he had a touchdown called back where he had a nice like 15, 16-yard run that got called back, but. Other than that, it wasn't like because like sometimes you see him escape in the pocket and then he'll run, but he was getting out of the pocket but still looking to pass it. Obviously, you have the 2 weeks to heal up a little bit, but it's still a knee injury that's been nagging him for the last few years. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think Mahomes might be the more dangerous rushing quarterback in this game, especially in the playoffs. Mahomes amps it up. Like, they're using the read option with him. He ran for 2 touchdowns in last week's game. They always use Mahomes as more of a weapon on the ground when the playoffs come around.
Because he's not fast, but he's quick.
Yep.
Like, when he has people running behind him, he
just gets away.
Yes, and he slips out of the pocket. He knows how to use those pump fakes to, give himself half a more second with the linebackers to get into the proper zone. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be I think this is... Obviously, I feel like if the Lions were fully healthy on their defense, I think that would also be a great game, but... From what we know, I think the two teams who deserve it are in it. Yeah. And it's going to be a great Sunday. So
he's going Chiefs. Derek's going Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs. Kamani's going with the Eagles. Yeah. I think Mahomes gets 4 and enters the GOAT talk after this game.
Dude, I hope he three-peats. Yeah. He deserves it. People hate him. Yeah, people liked him when he was he wasn't even beating Brady, but. People
in his first year, everyone loved Mahomes. He was the golden boy of the league.
Because he took a Super Bowl away, or he won the Super Bowl. It's a nice fresh, but now that he's done it repeatedly, people are sick of it, and it's
it'll happen every time.
Exactly.
I'm gonna appreciate greatness as it comes. But moving on, aside from the season, next week we have the NFL honors, the awards show. So we're going to give our predictions as we just got the finalists for each award. First off, we'll go with the MVP. Your finalists are Josh Allen from the Bills, Saquon from Philadelphia, Joe Burrow from Cincinnati, Goff from Detroit, and Lamar from Baltimore. I'm going Josh Allen here, though. I think this is pretty much a two-headed race between Allen and Lamar. It's a really tough one. I'm going Allen by just a sliver. I don't know. Derek's shaking his head. Where are you going with this one?
You can't even, you can call voter fatigue and everything and saying, yes, Lamar already has too, but he has been miles better than Josh Allen this season.
I don't think that's the case.
Miles better.
If you look statistically, that is the case, but Allen sat Week 18 because they had already clinched their playoff spot.
Hold on. Before you call sat Week 18, he kept his sorry-ass streak alive and played 1 snap. So that's soft, first of all. Hey, you know what? Congrats. You kept your streak. But
Cam Ward
realistically, you know what? On the stat sheet, they've both played 17 games.
Yep.
Obviously, Lamar was fighting for his division in that last week. But listen, man.
But aside from Week 18, Allen also missed a couple pretty much the whole second half because they already had blowout games. So I think if you're looking at straight statistics, it's not going to tell the whole story. Josh Allen led a Buffalo team this year that had no weapons pretty much. His number one was Khalil Shakir, and I like how he adapted this season. Buffalo turned into more of a run-heavy offense, which they have not been
they had to.
Past.
They had to. They didn't have the receiving power to be throwing the ball and beating you over the air, and they got what they needed out of Ty Johnson, James Cook, Josh Allen. So...
But that's the thing, Allen able to come in, run that offense, be the conductor for them, and limit his turnovers all season, which is something Josh Allen has struggled with in the past. So, I think Josh Allen just played his best year of his career this season as, true managing the game quarterback, and I think he was the most valuable player this year.
I just feel like when it mattered most, when they played against each other, who was busting whose ass? Josh Allen couldn't match up with Lamar Jackson in those games he played.
They won.
They just beat the Ravens.
Who?
The Bills.
No, well, true, but I'm talking about in regular season too.
The Ravens won the regular season.
They did. He did. I think Lamar outplayed him when they played each other. But remember, this isn't a playoff thing. These votes are in before this game even started. So I don't know. I just think just because you had the best regular season of your career doesn't mean you had you're MVP worthy. Congrats, you did a lot better than you've done in years past.
Lamar did crazy.
But
I will say the reason I say it's so close is because Lamar has won 2 MVPs in his career, and this year was arguably the best year of his career.
Exactly. So it's
But you also look at the Ravens adding Derrick Henry, who we've said for the whole duration of Lamar's career, once he gets an elite running back, that team's going to be unstoppable because you have the best rushing threat, arguably, that we've ever seen at quarterback, and you add Derrick Henry to that backfield, how our defense is going to stop that? Again, both are deserving. I wouldn't be mad if either wins it. I'm just giving Allen the slight edge, but it seems like you guys are picking.
I wouldn't say Lamar is miles better than him, but I still think he deserves it. And just because, just like you said, Josh Allen's had statistically the best season of his career doesn't mean he deserves the MVP. So,
he was my early prediction too, so I'm keeping that. He was, yeah.
No, and I hate Josh Allen. So the fact that I'm saying this means I was very
that was
impressed.
Respectful, yeah. But
Lamar from Florida, is he from Broward County, right?
He's like Boynton, so it's like a little bit like West, but yeah, he's a Florida boy.
Yeah, I hope Lamar wins it, but yeah. Moving on to AP Defensive Player of the Year. Finally, this was an interesting award this year. There's no runaway favorites, and also a lot of different positions were in the running for it. You have Zach Bond, linebacker from the Eagles, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Patrick Surtain, and finally, your early season pick, TJ Watt. Yep. I'm going, Myles Garrett here. It's a tough one, though. How about you guys?
You take it.
I'm taking TJ Watt just the whole season. I feel like he's been dominating for the Steelers. He's been carrying their defense overall. And, when they look shaky, he was always there to step up for them. So I'm going to stick with my guy right here.
See, I think the only problem with TJ Watt is, don't quote me on this, but I do believe for the last 3-4 games of the season, including the playoffs, nothing. So, I mean,
I don't even think he recorded a single
I don't think exactly. It's like, obviously, yes, I know he was playing injured, but if you're going to be out on that field, not 100%. Obviously, his not 100% is a lot better than a lot of other people's 100%.
His presence alone was just
right. But if you're going to be out there, like, you don't even need to be sacking the quarterback, but you need to be making out their tackles, TFLs, pressure. Yeah, he wasn't even recording pressures. He wasn't even getting in the quarterback's face. Realistically, I think obviously it's hard because I think PS2 has a really legit case for winning it, but it's hard as a quarterback to win it because then they just stop throwing at you. So you're not getting the pass deflections, you're not getting the picks. Like, realistically, a tackle stat for a cornerback isn't even the greatest because you should have...
It means you give the catcher.
Right, exactly. But I think Myles Garrett, he's been a force. Obviously, he's, flown under the radar just because of how bad that Browns team has been. But, I mean, Trey Hendrickson, he's also a great candidate. However, that Bengal defense as a whole never played great. So he could have a lot better stats if their cornerbacks, linebackers was able to give him more time. But
it's tough for corners to win it just because the down-to-down consistency from a defensive back is gonna win. It's so much easier to measure the impact of a pass rusher,
right? Because they're on your screen the whole time. You see what they're doing, how they're doing it, what they're going up against. But I don't know.
So if you put it between Garrett and TJ Watt, I think
Garrett has
sack numbers aren't everything. I think Garrett is the more consistent down-to-down pass rusher, just getting pressures, affecting the game, getting to the quarterback. And like you said, he goes under the shadow because the Browns were so terrible this year, and quarterback situation.
He deserves it.
Yeah, if you put Garrett on a good defense, he's one of the biggest game wreckers in the league. Moving on to AP Offensive Player of the Year now. This one is
one-headed race. Even though I think
there's two other great candidates.
It sucks because Jamar his triple crown.
Yeah, and Burrow had his best season.
Right, and Burrow has his best season. However, it's just I don't know.
If Saquon plays Week 18, he probably breaks the rushing record.
Right, exactly. Joe Burrow could have won this MVP if they beat the Patriots Week 1. So he lost his MVP after Week 1. I'm sorry.
I think they need a couple more wins.
Not even that, but they win that game. The Patriots lose. The Patriots get the one. The Patriots would have the number one pick. They would be in the playoffs at least. Even if you're 9-7 and you take your team to the playoffs, you are he clears Allen and Lamar
this season
easily. You do that. You win Week 1.
See, for the people that say Week 1 doesn't matter.
Exactly. You win Week 1.
That game was everything.
You give the Patriots the number 1 overall pick, and then you are in the playoffs, and Josh Allen wins and Joe Burrow wins an MVP.
Yeah. And then Burrow, the only one to beat Mahomes in the playoffs.
Exactly. Him and Brady. He's the only one left that you have. He is kryptonite.
Yeah.
The other kryptonite's announcing for Fox right now, and the other one got taken out of the playoffs because their defense couldn't find ways to keep them in game. If you put up 45 points, you should win a damn football game.
Because he was putting up. I had him on my fantasy team. He was putting up stupid performances every week, and they would
obviously
just give up 35
you can say those numbers are a little inflated because they're playing down the whole time. But at the end of the day, you still got to throw the ball to the receivers. They still have to make the catch, and they still got to get in the end zone.
And he was making crazy plays on the run, getting out the pocket.
Exactly, because his O-line wasn't great at all, and
it was bad.
Absolutely. But I think realistically this is a one-headed race. I think you could put Jamar in, but I doubt he even gets...
The thing is with Jamar is he had so much of his production from like 3 or 4 games. Like in prime time against the Ravens, he combined for like 400 receiving yards. So I think like game to game, Saquon was the best player on the offensive side
a lot
of
more
the ball this year.
consistent, definitely. But I mean, Jamar Chase, like Triple Crown, like that's not an easy task. Like obviously lost person to Cooper Kupp a few years ago, but I mean any other year, if Saquon breaks it, maybe he wins MVP. But then I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's another thing is his impact. I mean, he transformed this Eagles offense into a dominant force.
Exactly.
Solely off his performance.
He was my dark horse actually.
Saquon? Oh yeah.
I had Derrick Henry.
I mean, Derrick Henry was a finalist.
Yeah.
Along with the other finalist is Lamar Jackson. So
Right.
But yeah, I'm going Saquon. You're going Saquon.
Saquon too.
I think just the fact that Lamar is an offensive selection.
Yeah.
That for some reason I feel like Josh Allen's gonna win the MVP. But what are you gonna do about it?
So we have our first unanimous winner, which is Saquon Barkley. And now I think we're gonna have another unanimous one here with the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Daniels, number 1.
Easy.
You have Brock Bowers, who had a fantastic season.
He's going to be – I think they need the right quarterback in that system. Obviously, by the time the draft, there could be trades and everything. But I think Cam Ward would fit in so great with
the Raiders.
Raiders or Giants. I'm not that high on Shador. I watched the Miami games, obviously being down here. But
yeah.
I also watched a lot of Colorado games last year when all the hype was there, and this year because their games are later at night. Miami plays early, so I've watched both quarterbacks play. I'm not completely sold on Shador. Obviously, he has the name value and all that stuff, but I think if you put Cam Ward with Malik Neighbors or if you put him with Brock Bowers, I think that will elevate all sides of their play. So.
Yeah, I'm not too sold on either of those quarterbacks, but that's for another episode talking about the draft,
Yeah, we can definitely do that before the draft or whatever. But
like you mentioned, Bowers, I think he broke the tight end receiving record this season.
Probably receptions too, I guess, yeah.
He was amazing. And then your other finalist, Malik Neighbors, Bo Nix, who was giving Jaden a run for his money for a few weeks until Jaden picked it back up. Yeah. And then lastly, Brian Thomas, who...
He's gross. Like, I think if...
I liked him as a sleeper before the year started. Brian Thomas, he became that true alpha for Jacksonville, even when Lawrence went down. And
he was still doing it with Mac Jones. So it's like if you're still doing stuff with, and don't, like Mac Jones was great his rookie year, obviously whatever didn't work out in New England, but I mean he's not a bad quarterback, but he's also not great. And the fact that BTJ was still putting up numbers and everything shows that he will definitely be great in the next few years.
Yeah, Brian Thomas is legit for sure, but. At the end of the day, you got a quarterback in Washington who took a team, like we said, was projected to finish in the bottom 5, took them to the playoffs, did it on the ground, did it through the air. Jaden Daniels is my pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Oh, same, but
unanimous.
All right, 3 for 3 back-to-back awards. This one might be a little different. AP Defensive Rookie of the Year. You got 2 corners from Philadelphia, which is interesting, DeJean and Mitchell, which we mentioned earlier.
Disgusting.
You also got 2 pass rushers from Los Angeles, which is part of that big trio they have, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. And finally, my Miami Dolphin makes it on here, Chop Robinson. He had a great season, especially in the second half of the year. But
he doesn't win it, but if you're a Miami fan, you are really happy of how he played. You just got to put a little bit more pieces around him. And
getting him at 20 is a big hit.
Steal for sure. Like one of the steals of the draft. But like the Eagles also got to steal in DeJean.
I mean, how crazy is that to draft 2 rookie corners and they play that good for you?
Insane. Like if you watch them play, you think they're like veterans, but they knew exactly where to. Like they're always in the right spot at the wrong time. You don't see them blowing coverages.
Because they would have had a big hole in the secondary if they didn't hit on
huge. Like even if one of these hit, you're still missing like your CB3, and that's huge in the NFL. Like you can get away with that in college, but you're not getting away with having a bad CB3 in this league unless you come out in different personnel. But they hit the jackpot in this draft for sure.
For sure. Regardless, I'm going Jared Verse here. I think he was, most dominant pass rusher out of all these rookies, which, again, these pass rushers are going to get favored in the defensive awards.
Right, just because of, you don't see, they're not throwing a Cooper DeJean every play.
Yeah. I think Quinyon Mitchell had his first pick last week of the season, so 0 picks in the regular season. But, again, that's not how you measure a corner success.
Right. He did what he needed to do throughout the whole year for the Eagles. I'm also going with you with Jared Verse. I loved how he played this year. I loved how he went into Philadelphia, which is probably one of the most hostile environments
that was funny.
in the NFL, and he's just all game long. I love it. That's exactly what you need out of a player.
I was happy that he actually came out and produced instead of laying a dud. Like, he got a sack, he got a TFL.
I think he had two. He had 2 sacks. Yeah,
he was wrecking the game. Honestly,
no,
kept
yeah,
the Rams alive.
He kept them in that game for sure. Obviously, that story was different. Case like Stafford was playing banged up.
Yeah.
But I think the Rams, I think they're going to keep giving the 49ers a run for their money these next few years if they can just keep that core together of Puka, Cooper, Kyren.
Yeah.
But
if Stafford was healthy,
the defense is like this. Yeah, and if you think about it, Cooper and Puka both missed 4 or 5 weeks each.
Yep.
So, and they still won their division. I think LA is going to have a nice little run these next couple of years if they can keep drafting.
They've really been drafting well.
My guy's going to be Quinyon Mitchell. I just want to give him some flows. You know, it's like you said, it's rough getting this award as a corner. But, you know, always consistently stopping QB1s. You know, I have some stats. Christian Watson, 1 reception, 6 yards. Drake London, 1 reception, 5 yards. It just keeps on going with a lot of, you know, elite offensive.
Terry McLaurin, the first game shut
right.
Exactly. Like, I want to give him some flowers, and I feel like he does deserve it. I know that the guy you guys were talking about, you know, he's been playing really, really good, but I want to give some love to Quinyon.
No, yeah, Quinyon's definitely deserving. I think if you're going to pick one of the Eagles' corners, it's definitely Mitchell.
I don't think there's a bad pick. Like, if they gave it to anybody in this DPOY defensive rookie of the year, I wouldn't have any argument over.
Probably Braden Fisk, I think, is
right.
The odd man
He's
out.
definitely the odd man out,
but he had a good season.
Right, exactly. But it's like you can give it a Chop, you can give it a Mitchell, DeJean, Verse. I don't think people would be too upset.
So we got 2 Jared Verse votes and Quinyon Mitchell deservingly so.
Which is not wrong.
Was my prediction though?
Huh?
Verse was my prediction.
Oh yeah, early in the season.
Well, I seen
that one hit pretty well.
Yeah, I think I'm hitting really good.
All right, moving on to the AP. Second to last award is the comeback player of the year. You know, I kind of like.
I didn't know that was a thing, honestly.
I kind of like the NBA's version of this, which is most improved. It's
same. Okay.
Pretty different. You know, I think there's not a big comeback story every year, like when you had Alex Smith coming back from that big leg injury, or
right. And even last year when
DeMar
you
Hamlin.
could say, what's it called? Joe Flacco stole the comeback player of the year from DeMar Hamlin because he was like, you know, a lock the whole season.
Yeah, but Hamlin didn't do anything. You know?
Right, he didn't do anything last year, and obviously he's doing something this year, but it's like you didn't come back from an injury last year, so it's like it's hard. You know, because their criteria is like they put this out is typically given to the who overcomes adversity to return to play.
Exactly.
Such as injury or illness. Like DeMar wasn't injured last year.
Exactly.
JK was injured, kind of. Like, you know, he's been dealing with lower body injuries his whole career. And then
Sam Darnold,
he
came back from being ass. Like,
he came back from playing on the Jets. Like, that's his. You can say
he came
his
back
illness.
from seeing ghosts, bro. Like, he wasn't injured. But he's probably the favorite, I think, is
right. I think Sam Darnold is the favorite, however, right now, and I think he does end up winning it. But
that's why I think the criteria for most improved is better, because every year you've got guys that break out and rise to stardom.
I actually don't like how the NBA does MIP.
Really? Yeah. I think they do it better than the NFL.
I just don't like how they do it because they always give it to high lottery picks. Like example, Cade Cunningham this year, like he's a favorite to win it.
Because he was ass last year.
He wasn't ass.
He wasn't ass.
I wouldn't
see. His team was ass. I feel like
his team was ass too, but I don't like. Yeah, I mean, what he's probably like averaging 22, 23 points last year, but I don't know. I feel like
Ja Morant before, because I'm a big Grizzlies fan.
Right. Okay.
But I don't feel like, you know, the top picks should be getting.
Well, I can agree with that. They don't always give it to the single most improved player, but more so like the criteria of the award, I think, is better.
It's just more clear cut.
Okay,
it's more clear cut.
Because like I said, there's not a great comeback story every year.
Right. Exactly.
Like this season, we don't have one.
Exactly. It's like. But
it's more like a storyline type of
yeah.
scene.
Right. So like maybe you can say like probably the front runner next year would probably be like Aiden Hutchinson, right? Because he got hurt.
See, that'd be a valid one.
But that's a valid one. But other than that, there's no people like Aiden Hutchinson getting like 3 or 4 of them getting hurt every year where it's a race. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He's probably going to be like super favored to win it just because he was great, got hurt, and then that's the criteria of now. But it's still like I don't like how they set this up.
Yeah, this one's tough. Joe Burrow, like you said, missed some games last year. This season comes back, has his best season of his career. Darnold, we already mentioned, came back from sucking. J.K. Dobbins had a tough injury last season, the ACL, and then he was productive this year for the Chargers, but not a huge impact.
Right. Obviously, you saw what happened to them, but I think the Chargers are going to be great in the next few years. I'm not completely sold on Herbert. Like, he can throw the ball, but I don't know. I don't think your franchise is going to go as much forward as you want, even bringing in Harbaugh.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, for this award, I guess I'll go with Darnold here.
I think Darnold
the biggest
just
jump.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going Darnold too.
All right, so unanimous on Sam Darnold. Finally, we have the Coach of the Year final award. This one's a pretty tough one. Got Dan Campbell from the Lions, great season over there in Detroit. Kevin O'Connell, another great season over there in Minnesota, although they collapsed late in the year. But this is regular season we're talking, so.
Right, but they also did collapse in that last game. But
Sean Payton from Denver had a good season with the rookie Bo Nix. Took them to the playoffs. Dan Quinn from Washington is a great shout. Going for all those fourth downs.
For sure.
He really elevated Washington throughout the year. And then Andy Reid.
He'll never win it just because everyone hates him. But
Reid will be in there for the next 10 years.
He deserves it every year, honestly. Like, he's amazing.
Yeah. For this one, I guess I'll go Dan Campbell. Just that Week 18 matchup, they really out-dueled Minnesota in every aspect of the game. So I'm going to go Dan Campbell.
I'm also going Dan Campbell right here. Since the whole season, I've been rooting for him. I've been loving how they always run trick plays. It's always good for the game. And they were the first seed, right? So
yep.
I feel like he does deserve it. A very good comeback compared to the last season. I feel like he deserves it.
See, I was high on the Lions all year, and I was rooting for them all year. I thought this was their year, but I think a lot of people saw this year for them coming because they had Ben Johnson, they had Aaron Glenn, they had the defense, they had all the weapons on offense. Like, obviously, for like if you're a Lions fan, you've been used to disappointment your whole life, and now they overperformed, and then you're not. Well, like they performed exactly how they were supposed to.
Yeah.
And then they came in and they lost to the Commanders.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a letdown. Mm-hmm. But, like, they're not even used to being there. But I have to give my flowers to Kevin O'Connell. I thought once J.J. McCarthy went down, this was going to be just another rebuild.
I thought, honestly, Minnesota would be a bottom 10 team.
Right. I thought this was going to be a rebuild year. I didn't think they were going to compete at all. I just thought, they're just like Sam Darnold's the best option out there right now. So we're just going to go out with him and see what happens. Obviously, you have top 2 wide receiver. I think him and Chase are interchangeable. Like Jefferson, interchangeable wide receiver 1. But I cannot say I had a futures bet with the Lions winning the division, and this was the sweatiest thing. And I'm like, of all the damn teams in this league, the Minnesota Vikings, led by Sam Darnold,
and they started 6-1 or something.
Yeah, like their only loss was the first loss was to Detroit, mm-hmm. and then they lost to the Rams back to back, and then they won all those games out except for Week 18. But I'm giving my flowers to Kevin O'Connell. Dan Campbell's amazing, but we've known how great of a coach he has been, and he has the weapons, and I think he did what he was supposed to do. Like, if their record was anything, like if they had lost 2 or 3 more games, they probably would be coming at his head right now. Mm-hmm. But Kevin O'Connell, he overperformed everybody's expectations, and I think that's what this award's about, and I would give it to Kevin O'Connell.
No, that's a great point because I wasn't expecting Minnesota to be this good either.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at overall best team, it was obviously Detroit, but who exceeded the win expectation the most, like you said, was Kevin O'Connell.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I doubt the Minnesota Vikings win total, maybe probably, because they play in an amazing division too. Like, they were taking down Jordan Love, they took down, they put up great fights against the Lions, except for Week 18. But when they played Week 7, Week 8, or whatever, that game was a walk-off field goal by Bates. So it's not like they were out-coached or anything. They just had the ball last. So
yeah, I'm going Dan Campbell. You had
Dan Campbell,
but. Obviously, Kevin O'Connell more than deserving.
Right. Yeah, I respect that.
So there's our picks for the awards, also breaking down the final games. We'll give our reactions to the Super Bowl.
Do you want to do AP Assistant Coach of the Year or no?
We can go with that one.
Yeah, if you don't have that up, I have it up.
Yeah, the finalists were Joe Brady, Vic Fangio, Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, and Ben Johnson, 2 coordinators from Detroit who both left in the offseason.
Respectfully. Yeah. But, again, it sucks, but obviously as a Dolphin fan, you know about Brian Flores. Obviously, what came out this year with him and Tua, what was going on. But I think when Brian Flores was the head coach, defensively he was great. Like, obviously he wasn't given much down here in Miami, but I think what he did with the Vikings, they signed Van Ginkel from the Dolphins. They had pieces, like, not saying their defense was elite, but the schemes he was drawing up for the Vikings obviously took some of that pressure off of Sam Darnold. Like, I know most of their games were 8 or 9 of their games were 1-score games that they won and lost, but I have no ties to Minnesota at all, but I can't believe what Brian Flores did for them. I was surprised when I turned my TV on and saw Brian Flores was coaching, was the DC for the Vikings. And again, I give my flowers to. I have to give my flowers to him.
Flores is an incredible defensive caller. Even in Miami, when we were literally rebuilding and had undrafted free agents starting on the whole defense, Zach Sealer, Andrew Van Ginkel, who came over to Minnesota, like he had so many of our bottom tier players playing like above average starters. And, he calls a very crazy defensive system, leads the league in blitzes back-to-back seasons, a lot of crazy looks that he gives for the offense, but it works out. And Flores is just a mastermind on that side of the ball.
So who would you give it to out of these?
I'm still going Ben Johnson. I think
that's fair.
He was just
he called the great
an architect here in Detroit. So many trick plays. I mean, you had Penei Sewell going out for receiver or throwing passes. You had Jared Goff catching passes. Like, it was crazy what he was able to draw up. But not only drop to actually work in a real NFL game. Like, I've never seen something like that.
See, the problem is I don't think they have as many talented players like that in Chicago, so it'll be interesting because, like, you're not running that play with – I know Keenan Allen's contract's over. Like, you're not running that play with Keenan Allen.
Oh, yeah.
There's no one on that O-line you trust to do what Penei Sewell does. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how much he brings over. Obviously, it was his offense, so he called all those plays, but it'll be interesting to see how he can actually execute it with the players because – the talent between Detroit and Chicago,
big drop off,
huge drop off.
Yeah,
where are you going?
I'm also going with Ben Johnson. Just the ridiculous plays I was talking about earlier. It's all because of him. So I'm also curious to see what he's going to be doing in Chicago. See how he can make that team better compared to this year after a very down season. So I'm giving it to Ben Johnson too.
And then, Aaron Glenn was a finalist, goes over to New York to be their head coach, so he's destined to fail now on the Jets.
I don't know, man. Maybe he'll teach Sauce Gardner how to tackle or something. Who knows? Because that was hard to watch,
this
bro.
year.
Like, that's fine. Like, if you're not going to know how to tackle, you better start deflecting some passes and intercept them. But I think he'll get the Jets to buy in. Obviously, they had a dumpster fire last year. Who knows what Aaron Rodgers' future is over there, but I feel like defensively, I think they have the players over in New York defensively. They just need to clean up the tackling. I think was a huge problem.
His future's the past now.
I don't know, man. Like I'm not totally bought out on the Jets right now.
They were just so disappointing this year.
Just because they have Aaron Glenn now, I want to see what they can do defensively. Bring in like a mid-tier quarterback or draft a Will Howard because he could drop. Like he's not hot, but he's 6'4", like 260. Like you saw what he did in the Natty, the games before that. I would give the Jets one more year before. Like I don't think they win the AFC East by any means, but I think they'll compete.
Well, I think next year is going to be more of a retooling year than anything. Probably going to lose Devontae and Rodgers, so it's going to be more.
But I don't think losing Rodgers is is like the end of the world.
Yeah, that's
like
a bigger problem. Yeah.
Right.
But who's going to be their quarterback? I mean, Rodgers was at least an above-average starter this year.
Right, but I feel like you can draft. Maybe even if you get a rookie and then you live with it, or Russ is a free agent. Obviously, he's not Russ that he was in 2013. But I don't think I'm not sold. I'm not bought out on the Jets yet. I'm going to give them 1-2 more years with Aaron Glenn and see how the culture changes. Because I think from him to Salah is big. I think the team's going to get behind Glenn this year or next year.
I was pretty low on the Jets coming into the year, so it's going to take some convincing for me to see. But they do have a lot of young pieces that can still grow. Like you said, I think Aaron Glenn was a great hire to try and shift that culture around for New York.
For sure.
But, yep, those were our picks for the NFL awards. We'll see that. Tune in next Friday to see who ends up winning those awards. And also, obviously, tune into the Super Bowl. This week we have the Pro Bowl. Next week, the Super Bowl. So we'll give our reactions to the Super Bowl, but this is probably the last NFL episode we do before NFL draft and free agency when we'll cover those. Thanks for coming on, Derek. You were
anytime
great. You're welcome anytime you want to come on.
I'm happy to be anytime, man. I'm always here.
For sure. So that's all we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Game Breakers podcast. We'll get you more content next week covering the NBA and NFL season. My name's Daniel, Kamani, Derek, and we're out.